Welcome in to another episode of the My Two Bits Gators Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ben, joined as always by your other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, there's a new sheriff in town, if you will. How we feeling? How's Gville? How's the atmosphere? Is it popping one way or another? Or is it just a lot of anger? What's the vibes, man? How's it going?
Well, I'll tell you what, B. First of all, it's good to be on this pod. I'm not in therapy tonight because we're
Yes,
celebrating a win after 4 weeks.
that is a very good
So
point.
that's
Is
good.
it 4 weeks? I think it's 6 weeks.
2 bits, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks,
6
too
weeks.
damn long. Either way, yes, too long. No, I'm in the camp where I'm excited. I know there is a camp out there that's frustrated, that thinks that we should have another coach, but that's all right. I just love what this current coach said about the other coach that we thought should have been the coach in his opening remarks. I thought that was great. I thought it was great. But no, just happy, man. Happy for a new chapter, a new era, a new book. Just reset and let's hope he is as good as his coach speak is or his podium speak.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll obviously talk about this a little more later. But I think that at the end of the day, certainly understand if anybody is upset by this. I was certainly not enthralled at all when I first heard the news, but I hadn't done a lot of research yet. Went and did some more digging. Certainly still have concerns, no question. But I think at the end of the day, the one thing that I would say is that there are no locks when you hire a coach. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. You can have the absolute perfect coaching candidate that is the perfect fit at the perfect school. Everything is perfect, and it can, without question, not work. Period. There are no guarantees when you hire a coach. None. So while Lane obviously was a lot of people's first choice, including my own, for the record, I think you also got to see the underbelly of some nasty stuff with how that went down when he left. I don't know that is something that I would have been a big fan of. Now, that's not all on him, for the record. It's not all on him. But there are some things that are, and I don't think that there was a lot of that was very pleasant on any side of things, right? So, there's goods and bads to every situation, right? So I do think that the way some things are being approached here and handled here are a lot nicer, a lot classier. And that's great, though I do also have a couple of concerns there. We'll talk about that later too. But at the end of the day, there are things about this that the optics certainly are better, but optics aren't everything either. So at the end, ultimately, we'll see how it works out. We'll see how it plays out. We got a lot of time before we get there. We were just discussing that this is going to be our last game review pod for 9 months. So we got plenty of time to break stuff down. This is the problem when you don't get a bowl game. You get a long layoff, a long one. So that is the unfortunate part here. But we are going to have plenty to talk about. A lot of things are going to come about here. We'll get to that later as well. But we are going to have multiple different things to discuss here as we move forward. So with that, let's get things started here. Get us kicked off, of course, because we are reviewing FSU. We are going to do our standard agenda for our game week pod here. We'll have our intro, our mission, our accuracy disclaimer, our vision, and our agenda. Our mission is always to provide factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football. Our accuracy disclaimer is that our information will be accurate to the best of our possible ability. We will cite our sources whenever we use them, and all statistical data comes from either ESPN or stats.ncaa.org, and recruiting data comes from on3.com. Our vision is to have unfiltered conversation around the products on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis will be based on review of film, and while we will express opinion, that opinion should always be based in some form of fact. We will also evaluate strategy and tactics and discuss our observation of player personnel decisions, as well as on-the-field execution. So, as always, we'll start off tonight with our exciting plays from the game. That'll be our home my section. We will then go into our review of the offense in the Chomp segment, the defense in Gator Bait, talk about our gripes from the game in Visor Throw. Then we will review recruiting. Very interesting what's going on there right now anyway, in the Hatchling segment. Talk about the culture segment with Pride of the Sunshine. move into officiating review with Move Back You Suck. And then a little flip flop tonight. Typically in the wrap up, we will discuss where we go from here and kind of how the team moves forward. Obviously, a lot to discuss in that particular vein. We're going to keep it relatively short for now, in terms of the coaching hire and the GM hire as well, quite frankly. We're just going to give you some high level synopsis of that stuff for now. Obviously, we will have another pod to break all that down in much more detail, but we're not going to do that tonight. But we're going to flip it up. We're going to review Keep It or Pitch It first before we talk about that stuff and give you our thoughts on both Caldwell and Sumrall just from a very high level. And then we will wrap it up and close it out from there. So with that, I will turn it over to you and break down for us the home eyes from Saturday night against the Criminoles.
Fair enough. My home eyes are concise and very straight to the point. First home eye is very fitting. The first play of the game. Handoff, Jadan Baugh scampers for 20 of his 266. That is the way we needed to start the game. That is the tone that needed to be set. And it was set. Gauntlet was thrown. Loved seeing that first play from scrimmage. Jadan Baugh, number 13 on the jersey, number 1 in our hearts.
Yes, sir.
Play number 2. Yeah. Play number 2. I'm going to give this one to Mr. Lagway. This is a fake handoff to Baugh. Fake handoff, step up in the pocket, pump fake, pass to Sturdivant. Now, the thing about this pass that's interesting, besides the fact that the pump fake, the step up in the pocket, the throw, and the release, which, again, I've probably given this kid a hard time all season. Not probably, I have given him a hard time all season about you see him make some great plays, you see him make some boneheaded plays. But either way, this play was phenomenal. The pass was phenomenal. It was in a very tight window, measures probably 2 foot by 2 foot. Only Sturdivant can get to it. The corner could not. And those are the throws that you see him make repeatedly that give you this little glimmer of hope that, holy smokes, this is the guy. These are the type of throws he can make on a regular basis. We just need him to do it on a regular basis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. And then my last play, this is probably not conventional, B, but I saw it and I was like, and he got tested. He got tested Saturday night a good bit. So this is on Florida State's 10th possession, about 7 minutes left to go in the game. He did this a couple times, but this one was really good. Javari Flowers, true freshman.
Yeah, man.
On Deuce Robinson.
Balled out on one of the best receivers in college football.
Regardless, right? Folks, I just want to give you, in case you all don't know, most of you might know, should know, I don't know. But again, this is 5'10". Folks, I'm 5'10". And Deuce Robinson is 6'6". And Flowers played him well all night, but this particular possession, you saw him bob and weave and keep up stride for stride with Deuce to deny him the ball. Out of all the possessions, I thought this one was the best because he played him all game, definitely tired, legs weren't as fresh, and he's still there going. 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter with this kid stride for stride. I thought that was a phenomenal effort, and not to mention as a true freshman, if Javari can develop, stays healthy, we have a very, and stays in the program, we have a very, what seems to be solid future corner in the backfield in the second. So love that. Love that, love that, love that. Those are my 3 home eyes. What about you, B?
Yeah, I like the call out there on Flowers. Definitely have some flowers for him later in the pod. Dad jokes. But
Got him.
Yeah, buddy. But ultimately, I actually have only one the same as you, so that's interesting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Though
they are similar overall, but they're slightly different ones. So the first one is going to be one that's the same. I have the deep ball by DJ to Sturdivant. Had to call this out to your point. Great throw here. Great ball to where only his receiver to get it, right? Same thing you said. But also in a way where J-Mike could actually make the play, right? So I think that's an important call out here too. So, you have to consider this as well, right? It's one thing to throw it in an area where the receiver can be the only one to get it, but he's also got to be able to make the play on it, right? It has to be catchable ball as well, right? And these are the throws that we've seen from DJ in the past, and especially in the past couple of weeks, really, that really do make me feel like there is a positive path forward for him, right? But of course, to your point, he has to clean up the other things for that to happen, right? It's got to just be more consistent. It's got to be more of the time that we're seeing these things than the others. But one of the things that we do always look at, and why we look at the same metric and why we look at the NFL metric in this, is that we think it's more consistent, more reliable, less variability to it, right? And one of the things we have seen is that number get better here in these last few weeks than what we were seeing earlier in the season, certainly by a lot. But also not only get better, but get more consistent week in and week out. His last 3 weeks, that number has been very consistent, actually, in terms of his performance. So I think that really goes to show you that we are seeing a better DJ out there, even if there are still some throws where you're kind of scratching your head. There's a lot less of them than what we were seeing earlier in the season. And I think that does go to show you that he is finally getting there as this season goes along. I think, it was a frustrating season for us watching him. I think it was a frustrating season for DJ, for what it's worth. I don't think there's any doubt of that. I think he expressed some of that at the end of the presser after the game. And I was glad to see that honesty. I was glad to see that transparency from him. I think that's important. I think that's what you have to accept, right, as a person, to be able to develop, grow, and move past stuff. If you've got your head, not wrapped around the truth of the situation, it's not going to do you any favors. So moving along, that was a lot said for an oh my that had nothing to do with all of that, but
very comprehensive.
Yes, indeed. But I think it's a really valid point and something we need to consider with him moving forward. So hopefully we'll be able to see that. Hopefully we see him back. I do want to see him back. I think there is a path forward with him, as I've said, and I hope that's the case. All right. Next is a guy I really want to see back, and that is Jadan Baugh. So I'm going to pick the 6-yard carry by him late in the second quarter for a first down.
Oh, yes.
Nothing particularly eye-popping about this play. However, it's one of the biggest oh-my's in quite some time, because this run put Jadan Baugh over 1,000 rushing yards for the season for the first time in a decade. As has already been mentioned when we went over some of this on Saturday, he is the first underclassman to accomplish this feat, underclassman being a freshman or sophomore, right? In under 200 carries as a Gator, with the only other Gator to ever do this being Emmitt Smith. And that is never a bad name to share company with.
No, sir.
Run the ball, Jadan, outstanding stuff. Absolutely love it. More to come with that. I have a couple more records that we did not cover on Saturday that I will get into. My next play is Jadan Baugh.
I like it.
22-yard TD run in the third quarter. I was kind of torn between which TD run to pick. I'll explain more in a minute. But I was really worried. I genuinely was worried that we were going to end up having a bunch of passing TDs in this game, right? Because we had 3. Jaden's just running the ball down the field all night, and then we're passing it in for the touchdown, right? And I was concerned that Jadan was not going to get a score despite his incredible night. So I was really happy that it was not that it didn't end up being the case. And I actually loved both of his scores for different reasons. The second reason being that we piled on with that second score, which I loved. But I took this one because this is really the one where the game was still not over, right? And this really helped put the game away for UF. And it was an exclamation point on an incredible night for, obviously, an incredible back. I sincerely hope that Sumrall is putting all of the work into keeping Jadan here and having him back as a big piece of this offense for next season. Kid is special. Again, I have much more to say about that, but I will get to that later. I'll actually get to it shortly here because it's time for the Chomp segment, because that completes Oh My's. So into offensive review. First and foremost, as mentioned, time to talk about the rating for Lagway, 105.56. Again, anything over 100 is good. So this is good. It's his best rating since LIU, I think. since the first game of the season. I believe I'd have to go back and check Texas, but this is a good number. And we had 6.04 yards per carry, including the 2 sacks that DJ took. Because DJ, of course, did scramble a couple times in this game, not near as much running as he has been doing. Apparently, he was hurt. When you don't get an injury report, you don't find this stuff out through the week, but he was a game time decision, according to the announcers. Of course, these announcers also called Alfonso Allen Alonzo Allen, so who knows? Maybe that wasn't even true. As mentioned on Saturday, when we did our first bites, this was the game plan that we should have leaned into for most of the season. And by that, I mean run ball. Not necessarily all with Jaden. I understand he couldn't have handled 38 carries a game every game. Not saying that. But just running the ball. So your quarterback didn't get much of an offseason, right? He's struggling. He's not 100%. He's mentally fatigued. He's not confident. He's got a lot of stuff going on that's preventing him from playing anywhere near his best football. With our defense keeping us in games earlier in the year, we didn't need to score that much. Think about LSU. They scored 20. Think about Miami. They scored 26, right? We didn't have to do a lot early in the year to make things competitive offensively. And if we had just leaned into the run, even if it wasn't all with Jaden, as I said, we would have had much better chances to win games that we didn't. Certainly, we wouldn't win all of them. I'm not suggesting that. But we would have at least been in some of them, been more competitive. This is why you have to adapt your plan. You have to change your scheme, and you have to mold your team to what your personnel is capable of from week to week. And that was something that Napier was simply incapable of, as we all well know. Napier's plan was, this is what we're going to do every week, no matter what, or I'm going to stick a knife in my own heart, which is what he ultimately did. That was the biggest problem with Napier, hands down. He could not change the plan on game day ever. Ever. He couldn't do it. The only time we actually did see him do it is when he had a quarterback come in Max Brown that he knew couldn't throw the ball, and so we RPO'd it the entire game. That is the only time I ever saw him actually modify a game plan for personnel. And it's because he flat out knew that the guy couldn't make the throws he needed to make unless they were out of RPO. So we RPO'd the entire game. It's the only time I ever saw him change. That's it. Once. One game. And I guess that's the kind of extreme that you had to have for him to know that he had to actually do something different. But every other time, it's been literally the same stuff. So that was problem one, obviously, with what we've now moved on from. Thank goodness. Because I don't expect, especially with some of the hires that are being floated around for offensive coordinator, everybody. Yeah, that's right. We get an actual offensive coordinator. Ha! And if we get some of the names that are being floated, it's going to be fun. But we'll get to that later. But I do have to give credit to this staff for finally figuring out not only a way forward that worked, but then sticking with it, not abandoning it, which has been such a knock on this staff as well, like finding something that works and then going away from it. How many times have we said that under the Napier era? It's been a nightmare. So,
too many.
Back to Saturday and things about this game and not the last 4 years. First and foremost, hats off again to number 13. What a game. Some records that we did not mention Saturday, as I mentioned, would come here. 1,170 total yards for the season. 7th best all time in UF history. 266 yards in a game is the second highest rushing performance by a Gator running back ever. I believe I did mention it is the most against Florida State of all time.
Yes.
The only other game higher ever was one Emmitt Smith in 1989 when he dropped 316.
Yes.
But that was his junior year, which means this is also the highest performance ever by an underclassman for rushing yards by a Gator ever.
Yes, sir.
38 carries is the 4th most by a Gator ever. And I think that's all I got for ones that I didn't already mention. We have praised him all season, but I'm going to do it one more time. The stuff this kid puts on film is so much fun to watch. I just really can't say when I've ever seen the combination of speed, agility, vision, and power that he possesses all in a single package before. His skill sets all have comparables in other players, but I don't know that I truly have a back that I can compare him to that has all of what he has. And I don't say that lightly, for the record. Like, I don't just sit here and say, oh, he doesn't have a comp, but I can't really give you a comp. I can't give you a guy that cuts like Shady McCoy, that can bowl you over like Leonard Fournette, that can, make guys miss in the open field like LaDainian Tomlinson, and can still have the vision to hit the hole. Like, I don't know. I don't have a comp for that one because there's plenty of good backs that can do that. That one wasn't one I had ready. But give me a guy that can do all of those things. I don't have it. I don't know one because I've never really seen that before, especially at his size. It's amazing. So moving on now from Baugh, last point I have on offense, the O-line has to get a shout out for this game. Much maligned O-line, a lot of negativity we've had about this O-line, but you don't have your running back go for over 250 without the big guys up front not paving the road for him along the way. They were as good run blocking in this game as we have seen all year, and perhaps better. And it was great to see, even if it was bittersweet to have it come this late in the season and too late to make a difference for our year. In fairness, though, did they really get the chance to do that consistently prior? Maybe not. This performance really does make me scratch my head, as it was not an inferior D-line we were playing in FSU, right? It's not like we could just bowl these guys over physically. No, this is a good D-line, especially interior-wise. Nor is this a linebacker core, for that matter, that is any kind of pushover. These are talented players, right? And we made them look very subpar. Why couldn't we do that all year? We were letting guys in the backfield from USF and LIU. Why are we not doing this, now against better competition in FSU? I don't know. I don't have answers to these questions. I don't have those answers. But it doesn't change the solid performance we saw on Saturday. And hats off to the guys up front for coming together to help Baugh get over the 1K mark. Credit is due there. I'll leave it at that. What do you got for offense, bud?
I like it. Very good. I got a lot of things, but I'm gonna try and keep it as short and concise as possible.
All right, you're on the clock. I'm timing you.
Fair. DJ Lagway, folks. Here's the thing: 105.56 QB rating. Not sure if y'all expected that. Not expected that. It was, I would call it from him, an efficient game. But guess what? I think it needed to be an efficient game for him. And again, was he a game time decision? Who knows? In the press conference, he's got his shoulder wrapped with ice.
Right. True.
Okay. So guess what? If the kid needs surgery, now's the time to do it. We're not going to do PT. We're not going to rehab it. We're not going to give him some throws in the spring and see how it feels. If it needs surgery, fix it now.
Agreed.
Period. So there's that. The other thing is, clearly because of the year that he has had, whether it is health, whether it is 6 inches between the ears, whether it's over analyzing the playbook because he was out for so long, this is
it's all the above.
Exactly. Regardless of what people might say about him, he is not ready to carry a team. He's got sputters, he's got spurts, he's got hopes, he's got dreams, he's got moments, but he can't do it. This needed to be the game plan. And I'm glad you said it, B. This needed to be the game plan. This was supposed to be the game plan. This had to be the game plan. And this was what was promised, what was going to be the game plan from Billy Napier day one. We're going to play smash mouth football. We're going to establish the line. We establish the run. Then, when we draw safeties up, vertical passing concepts. Broken record.
That's exactly what we did in this game and the second half against Tennessee. But I'll be damned if I saw it the rest of the year.
Correct. So why did it take so long? How did it take so long? Unbelievable. Let's go over some stats, okay? 26 first downs, 272 rushing yards, 168 passing yards. That's why Lagway only needed to go 15 for 24, 62.5% completion.
Great.
168 yards. Great. 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, a long of 34, 2 sacks. Effective, efficient. Great. That's it. 440 total output of offensive yards on 69 plays. Almost got to the 70 play mark. Phenomenal. 6.4 yards per play average. Great.
Yep.
5 total penalties for 45 yards. So we're maintaining, on the season, we're at 5.21 penalties per game. That is more than serviceable for the way we started.
Agreed.
Right? Phenomenal. So that's great. Time of possession by almost 10 minutes, 9 minutes and 38 seconds, held the ball for almost 35 minutes, controlled the ball in the swamp. That's what you do at home field advantage. That's just what you do.
Especially if you're going to predicate on the run.
Bingo. Especially. 6 for 13 third downs, just under 50%. Phenomenal. 2 for 2 fourth downs. Phenomenal. Red zone scores. I know B and I really don't touch on red zone scoring and red zone probabilities because it is a field goal. You go for 3, you go for 6, regardless. 5 for 5 in the red zone.
Yeah, and 4 out of those 5 touchdowns too, which is huge.
Bingo. Exactly. Phenomenal job there. So those are the things that they did really, really well. I'm glad you said it, B. Great shout out to the O-line. The O-line, I tell you what, Barber was as good as I have seen him all season.
Yeah, well, no offense, but that wouldn't be hard. He's not been great.
Touche.
But to your point, he was good. He did have a good game. And
if I had to go back, Austin Barber was our weakest link when it came to a false start, when it came to an illegal shit, when it came to, I don't think he had a single procedural issue the entire game.
No, you're right, and he did have a lot this season, and he also had a lot of issues holding. Holding, but he also had a lot of issues with
keeping his man in front.
Blocking, man. God, his pass blocking has been terrible. Absolutely terrible. Run blocking was okay, but his pass blocking was just awful. I still say, we've talked about this many times, but I still say he's a better right tackle than he is left tackle. I just don't think he's well suited to play left tackle, and I think that's been a problem all along. We just haven't had anybody else that could do it since, 2-3 years ago. And so ultimately, I think he's just been stuck there, and I don't think it's his ideal position.
Right. Yeah. Right. So either way, phenomenal. Hats off to the O-line. Everyone there. Slaughter, of course, the glue, the anchor, leading the way. Jadan Baugh, 38 attempts, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, a game that will go down as Jadan Baugh's game. Now, I will say this. B, we've talked about the wrecking ball. We've talked about run the ball. How about, see if you like this one, #ball game.
Yes, I'm a fan of ball game for sure.
Good.
This was the ball game for sure. If he tops this one, he may become a Florida legend.
Yeah, cancel Christmas. Yeah, exactly.
For real.
J. Michael Sturdivant, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 58 yards, a long of 34 with a touchdown. Aiden Mizell, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 46 yards, a long of 23, another explosive.
Yep.
EB3, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 25 yards with a long of 14. Hayden Hansen, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 18 yards, a long of 15. Duke Clark, 2 targets, 1 reception, 11 yards. Tony Livingston added 2 receptions. TJ Abrams added a reception. So it's nice to see 7 different receivers catch the football. Phenomenal there. Trace Mack did what he does, comes in, goes 2 for 2. No issues there.
Well, except that he misses his last kick as a Gator, and he was 100 for 100 on extra points, and he misses his last extra point. I mean, oh my God, man.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Brutal. Yep. Absolutely brutal. I'm sorry. That is killer.
No, that was my last point, except for
Oh, I'm sorry.
goodbye.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I didn't
You're
know it was
fine.
coming.
You're fine. You finished my sandwich. That's it. Goodbye, Lou Groza. But either way, it's fine. It is what it is. So Ball's game, you already set the records. You said the numbers. I'm not going to say it again. All other than the fact that the most rushing yards ever surrendered by these Seminoles in this game, I can't. I
That's
just
awesome.
can't grin more enough ear to ear for that. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
and by a lot too. I think he set the record somewhere right around 200. I think they set it about 204 or something like that, and he goes for 266. I mean, that's incredible. I didn't go look up what it was previously, but yeah, he obliterated whatever the record was. So
He
it's
did.
phenomenal.
So
Phenomenal stuff.
I wish we had more chomp sections like this throughout the year. But guess what? For
Yeah.
the last game, senior night in the swamp, happy it went down this way.
Yeah, well, here's to next year having more like this. We can hope. Obviously, we don't know, and time will tell. But you know, gotta look forward. Hopefully, because looking forward, with despair doesn't do anybody any good, right? So
No, it doesn't.
we'll go from there. All right, take us away. Turn it over to Gator Bait. What do you got?
Gator bait. Yes, sir. All right. So Tommy Castellanos. We're trying to think of something good, but either way, get your Tommy out of my Castellanos and go back to Tallahassee. QBR, total QBR 97.32. Serviceable, more than serviceable, right? Because anything over 100 is pretty good. So there he was 17 for 28, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. By the way, big shout out Ben Hanks Jr. Legacy INT to finish out the
Freshman
game.
corners in this game. By the way, I have no idea why Devin Moore didn't play for the record on senior night. No clue. Guess he got hurt. Don't know because he was
Guessing he
fine
was
at
hurt.
the end of Tennessee. I don't
He
know why he
was.
didn't play. But shout out to the freshman corners in this game. They were off the charts good. Off the charts good, both of them. I don't know why we didn't see Ben Hanks sooner. I questioned why we didn't have him on the field more, and he was lights out. So I don't know why we weren't playing him more this season when we had a shortage at corner. I don't understand why he didn't back up sometimes. I don't know. But anyway, moving along.
Yeah, great thing. Shout out to this line and what they did. Caleb Banks and what the job he did to come back to get ready for this game, especially coming back for his last 2 games as a Gator.
Absolutely.
4 sacks on Tommy Castellanos. Phenomenal. The other thing about Tommy, the only issues that I really saw of this defense with Tommy was the spies, right? Sometimes the spy got caught up. It was Jaden Robinson, or sometimes Woods deep in back, got caught up, got picked, got in the middle of something else, and that's when Tommy ran free. So the only negative I can say is Tommy ran for 77 yards. Yes, their leading passer and their leading rusher, whatever. It was what it was. They averaged 4.51 yards per carry. And yes, that is sack yardage factored in because of how much he scrambled his tail off. So that is what it is. I love the fact of how this defense came out. They came out very hungry. Now, it wasn't because we had a lot of freshmen in there. Did we have a lot of underclassmen in there? We did. But regardless of the fact, clearly everyone got the memo. Rivalry game. You don't lose to the Criminoles, especially in the swamp. And we played like it, especially on the opening possession. FSU gets the ball first. And what do? We force them to punt. First possession. We haven't done that in a while.
Agreed.
We needed to do it. And we did it. Right? Look at this FSU production. Their offensive production for the year. I get what their record is. I get the record. But folks, you got to understand, this is a top rushing offense, is a top passing offense, is a top not scoring offense, because of course scoring that's where they kind of.
I mean, they still weren't terrible. I think they were top 40 or something, maybe even top 30 scoring. They're not awful.
It was 39, and so
Okay.
when I look at that, I go, okay, yeah. But at the end of the day, they racked up a crap ton of yardage. Definitely did some things well, especially when it came to first downs. So regardless of the fact, this defense did a phenomenal job by holding them scoreless in the first quarter and the third quarter. And again, probably shouldn't have given up that last touchdown, but it was what it was. That got them to 21. Probably should have held them to 14 had 3 scoreless quarters. But regardless of the fact, it's okay. I want to shout out Miles Graham again. Miles Graham, phenomenal job this year. 8 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a big tackle for loss was the big sack, 10 yards. Phenomenal. Bryce Thornton, Aaron Childs, 8 tackles apiece. Bryce had another tackle for Bryce coming off the edge. He's dangerous. He's sneaky fast coming off the edge
He
to
is.
get himself a snack, isn't he?
Yep.
Very, very devious. So that's awesome for him. Alonzo Allen, whatever the heck Boykin called him. But okay, 6 tackles, phenomenal job. Sharif Denson, 5 tackles. Javari Flowers, 4 tackles. Shady Hayward, 3 tackles. Jaden Woods, 3 tackles. 2 tackles for loss.
And a sack.
And a sack in a partridge in a pear tree, folks. Yes, it is the season. Caleb Banks added another 3 tackles. Ben Hanks, 2 tackles. Jaden Robinson, 2 tackles. A very phenomenal effort from this defense. 62 total tackles, 7 tackles for loss. That totaled over 30 yards. Phenomenal. And, of course, the 4 tackles for 22 yards. Defense did a great job, especially when you look at how explosive this offense can be. Again, their record does not indicate that because clearly they're more dysfunctional than we are. But either way, the other thing I love is the fact that this defense stopped Florida State on 2 4th-down drives, or on 2 4th-down possessions, on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. And as we know, with a rivalry game, inches can make the difference when it comes to winning or losing, gaining momentum, gaining an edge, whatever the case might be. Guess what? This defense did not allow them that privilege. Phenomenal job. And again, going back to the whole Deuce Robinson thing, one of the better wide receivers in all of not just the ACC, but of college football at a whopping 6'6", to hold him to 60 yards. The one that we didn't anticipate was LaWayne McCoy running away for 110 yards. Receiving. That was that. And like I mentioned, Tommy Castellanos was your leading rusher with 77 yards. The second leading rusher for Florida State was their awesome freshman Chroma with 27 yards. So an overall great effort by this defense. They got them off the field when they needed to get off the field, right? And a lot of different possessions. Even though Florida State went 6 for 12 on 3rd downs, we did a lot of things right and held them to yardage, held them in scoring, obviously, and did some great things to confuse Tommy and stay with him to hold him at bay. Again, this defense, Ron Roberts, I know a lot of people have been talking about Ron ever since, Napier's been terminated. Ron's taken his foot off the gas. I don't necessarily agree with that. But at the end of the day, they did a great job to solidify the win in the Swamp. Great job, defense. Way to close it out strong and play complimentary football. What do you have for Gator Bait B?
So one slight correction there. We're 5 for 12 on 3rd down, not 6 for 12. So we did hold them under 50.
That's wow. For some reason I've got 6 for 12 here. Okay.
Yeah, no worries. All good. But I just wanted to call it out because I want to give credit where we can to these guys, right? And of course, accuracy, right? We're always going for that.
Which one's right? 5 for 12 or 6 for 12? Yeah.
I got 5 for 12 in 2 different places, so I think it is 5 for 12. And ESPN has it as well as the Score has it at 5 for 12. So maybe just a typo when you wrote it down. I don't know. But anyway, so you mentioned it to start off, and I think this is a really important point. We were, kind of curious about the effort level for this game, right? Especially after Tennessee and what happened there. And I think it's always easier to see on defense than offense effort levels, right? It's just easier to see the hustle and the fight, right? And no question in this one that we had the effort in this game that we were looking for, which is just outstanding to see and to watch. Obviously, always, but especially when you get it in those rivalry games that you care the most about. Despite giving up a solid amount of yardage, as you mentioned, right, though less than what FSU was averaging on the season, right? So this was under their averages for yardage. The defense played tough all night and really did a good job of containing what FSU wanted to do, right? We contained decently well, even if we didn't, always stop, right? And I think that's the Ron Roberts mentality to a degree, and I'll talk to that more later. Several shout outs for me on this side of the ball. First off, freshman corners. I already mentioned it. Javari Flowers and Ben Hanks, both outstanding in this game. We actually played a fair amount of man, at least for Ron Roberts standards, because we know he loves the zone, right? And in this game. And those two were just excellent in coverage all night, especially when we were playing man. Though really a couple times in zone they were good too, but ultimately in man they were outstanding. Really great stuff time and time again when they were lined up that way, and that's really great to see from true freshmen. Now, in fairness, it is easier to play man than zone, so I will call that out, but you still got to be able to do it, right? You can't let yourself get cooked and turned around, and certain things that guys can do to you on these routes, and they were just stout all night, all over it, as you made very good mention of. Next up, of course, got to call out the linebacking core. Graham, always a winner here. You mentioned it. Though I didn't love the cheap shot on Tommy for the roughing the passer call. That was absolutely the right call. Didn't need to do that. Come on, Miles. You're better than that. I know it's Florida State. I know it gets chippy, but you didn't have to do that one. But still a solid game regardless. As you mentioned, 8 tackles. But also Aaron Childs. You called that one, right? Outstanding game in this one also. 6 tackles, 3 solo, and I think at least 1 for loss. I'm going from memory on the 1 for loss, so apologies if that's off. Lastly, I'm going to give the safeties a little credit here too. In the run game only, for the record. Only in the run game, because the pass coverage was bad. But for the run game, they were pretty good. Took good angles and tackled well for the most part. Yes, there were a couple misses, but there was nothing egregious. And this was mostly from 2 freshmen and a walk-on for the bulk of the game. Castell played a very little early and then was out, and I didn't see him get hurt, so I don't know what happened there, but he started the game and then disappeared. No clue what happened there. But then Thornton obviously got hurt midway through the game. I don't remember if it was late second or early third, but he hurt his foot or leg or something. He was skipping off the field, couldn't put any weight on it. And from there, it was all Allen, Stubbs, and Shady Hayward. And they held their own when they didn't have to play pass coverage, as I mentioned, because there were a couple times when we were in zone, especially when we ran some blitz concepts. And there was one time where I think we either gave up the touchdown or close to it.
It was to Dan.
I don't know what we were doing. Like, he was the only guy you needed to cover on that side of the field, and they gave him a 15-yard cushion. And all they needed to do was come up and cover it. Like, there was no other threat. Like, what were you doing? I don't know. Sometimes it was. I saw that play and I was like, oh, okay, we're blitzing here. Right. We're blitzing the corner, and so the safety's going to come up. He just stood there. I was like, what come cover him? It was bad. And that's not the only example. But overall, we achieved the bend, don't break model well once again in this game, as I mentioned before, right? So when you look at it, yes, we gave up 400 yards, but we gave up 21 points. And that's what ultimately matters. You can give up as many yards as you want. If you don't give up the points that go along with it, doesn't make a difference, right? Mm-hmm. Yardage doesn't mean a thing if they don't put the ball in the end zone or through the uprights. That's all that matters. So 21 points, not a bad showing on the scoreboard at all. You'll take that every day. That's a solid defensive show against a very offensively potent team, as mentioned. Even if they did have their scoring concerns, they're still really good offensively, have been all season. Right? Alabama's a pretty good defensive team, and they put 31 on them. I know that was the beginning of the season. I know that was a long time ago. But nonetheless, they put 31 on them. We'll leave it at that. All right, visor throw. I actually do not have a lot of complaints about this game. It was actually a little hard for me to kind of have to think about it. The only 2 that I can come up with, they're really just kind of play related. I guess one is kind of coaching, but these are not significant. My visor is going to be as clean as it's been all season. I'll put it that way. Only 2 that I got were the pick by DJ in the second quarter. So first off, just the breakdown of the play. He's late on the throw again, but really more importantly, it wasn't the right throw to make. Right? It's so confusing to me to see this because multiple times in this game, he made really good decisions with the ball. When to throw it away, when to just keep it or run and at least try to run or just go down even, right? And then he does this. right? This is just a bad choice, a bad call of a throw in general, but then on top of it, you're late, right? So of course it gets tipped because it was thrown into coverage that, again, shouldn't have even been done. It gets tipped and it gets picked. I just don't understand it sometimes. I'm like, what are you seeing? And then what are you thinking to be able to think that you can throw that again late, and you have to know it's late to be able to think you can get that in there. I don't get it, right? That's the number one thing that this new staff has got to address with him, assuming he's still here. It has got to be fixed. That is his absolute biggest Achilles heel. We've seen it time and time again this season, right? It is not only making a poor decision, but then on top of it, adding that you're throwing late to do it, right? Throws that really shouldn't even been made in the first place. But on top of it, maybe they had a chance if they were on time. Maybe, perhaps not, but maybe. But then on top of it, again, you're late. I know I said it like 4 times, but it boggles my mind. So that for me is a big thing. But also going beyond just the play, there was the timing of this pick. So ill-timed. We had just gotten a turnover. We had just shifted momentum. And what have we talked about with this team? We just shifted momentum to our side. We got the chance to go up, what at that point it would have been 17 points if we'd have scored a touchdown, or 13 with a field goal. And instead we give them the ball back and they make it a 3-point game.
Yep.
Killer turnover, right? You shift momentum right back. You negate our turnover. It means nothing. And they go right back to where they were on the field, basically, when we turn them over and they get a score. Just brutal stuff from that standpoint as well. Just can't happen. Stuff that you just can't do. If this is a better team, that could have changed the whole game. All right, so that's number one. Number two that I have here is the last drive of the second half. You mentioned, it's really funny. I almost called it out when we were recording on Saturday. Huh. You mentioned that this team that this staff was better at the middle 8 and not so good at the start and the end of the game. Boy, they flipped that in this one, didn't they?
Didn't they?
They were terrible in the middle 8 and really good at the beginning. And the rest of the whole game was good. Just that middle 8 was garbage. And this is really what I would say here. Again, not good play calling at all. First of all, pass first down, run second down, pass third down. But then that pass and that run are ineffective, but you call timeouts. So you have a 3rd and long, or 3rd and mediums, like 3rd and 6, I think. You called timeouts on 1st and 2nd down to preserve the clock, which in theory is good, except you don't get the 3rd down and you throw an incomplete pass, and Florida State gets the ball back and has a chance to go score. You can't do that. You can't do that. If you're going to run on 2nd down and get to 3rd and 6, you got to let the clock run. Like, that was one thing Billy did do that was not always the dumbest thing. A lot of times his clock management was god awful. But the one thing, I mean, I don't know, a lot of times, but like the one thing that he did do that was not always the dumbest thing in the world was not immediately call a timeout and kind of let that drive develop a little bit and see, okay, are we actually going to move the ball to where it makes sense to call timeouts, or should we not immediately stop the clock and wait and see if we can get somewhere in this drive before we just go 3 and out, burn 8 seconds and give the ball back and let them go try, because that is a bad thing to do, obviously. And that's exactly what we did here. And that was terrible. So that was not a good thing, obviously. So that's all I got, though. And really, those are not, huge complaints. They go to deeper issues, but obviously, hopefully those issues now can get corrected. We'll see. What do you got? Vice throw.
Hopefully so. All right. So first one is, and yes, I'm going to call him out, DJ's pick.
Yep.
You said it. I'll just reiterate it. DJ, you threw the ball. I mean, Mizell, yeah, he slipped, but he had barely broken out of that run. And ball was there. Ball's late. Double coverage. 50-50 ball. We're typically going to lose that. And guess now, that was one thing, but his reaction, Lagway's reaction after the pick, he just stood there like, are you kidding me? The look on his face, it's that the look of his eyes, it's that dead, emotionless abyss that I cannot stand. Okay, moving on. Roughing the passer on Graham. You know what? I couldn't have said it better, B. He knows better. That was interesting because on that possession, he had a frustrating that possession for him. He had 4 or 5 plays where he'd gotten thrown on the ground, he'd gotten bottled up. He was frustrated. Some of that emotion spilled over. I'm glad he was able to pull it together.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's that. Nearing halftime, had to burn a timeout after an incompletion. So this is what's tough. Yeah, you want to burn timeouts? Okay, try and preserve this, preserve that. But after an incompletion, the clock stopped. This was about 1:03 to go. And for whatever reason, we got the play call in late, or there was a discrepancy on the play call, and we had to burn a timeout after an incompletion when the clock was already stopped. Doman had a massive punt early in the third quarter. That was a 72-yarder, 71-yarder. The thing about that punt was that Stubbs, yes, true freshman, but Stubbs had the opportunity to down that thing inside the 2, maybe the 1 or the half-yard line. Stumble, bumble, fumble, couldn't come up with it, touchback. But it's things like that, even at a freshman level, if you can do really, really well, it makes the difference moving forward. Thought he could have come up with it. So that was what it was. And the last thing, Jay Alter and Rocky Boyman. Those were our announcers for the game, folks.
Yeah, they were.
SMDH. That's my visor throw.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't blame you there at all. Yeah. All right. Moving along. Hatchlings recruiting. Still no flips. Actually, just got an update that we kept a quote 5-star. Not sure on what service because it ain't on 3, but I'm assuming that means Jerrillion McCoy. And that he is sticking with us despite multiple attempts to flip. So even though things are being written still that I'm seeing that they're expecting to see flips in this class, still being called for, time's running out for them to flip, right? Most kids sign by Wednesday, or Thursday at the latest. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow and most especially Wednesday. But for now, class is still holding. I feel like Vince Vaughn in Old School, still holding.
Oh, boy.
It's unbelievable, to be honest with you. I am actually incredibly impressed that this has held together the way that it has. I'm actually almost shocked. It is really more the right word. I really can't believe it. If we somehow hold this entire thing, which I do not think will happen for the record, that would be insane. If we even keep 17 of 19 or 16 of 19, I think that's amazingly impressive. Now, It does matter who you lose of those 16. If you keep 16, it matters which 16, right? Because there are 3 that you could lose that wouldn't mean that much, and there's 3 that you could lose that would be horrendous, right? So that does make a difference, but we'll see what happens. 2 days to find out. Any other updates that we haven't covered there that you have?
No, I mean, everything is holding steady on 3, of course. The same deal, right?
Yeah.
We've got 19 commits, 13th in the nation, 53% in state, 74% blue chip, no 5 stars still, sadly. We know the issue here is Brana is a big one, KJ Ford, Davion Gross. But B, I've seen things on Davion Gross's X saying that he's been patient, he's committed to see who the next coach is, to go through that process. KJ Ford has done the same. My son's been kind of egging on Justin Williams over here at Buchholz a little bit, kind of see what he's doing. He says he's committed. Okay, great. I love the fact that Janair Carr went to Tennessee this past weekend to see them get spanked by Vandy.
Yeah,
that was great. So enjoy that. Also, Will Griffin out of Jesuit there in Tampa. Love to see what he's done to kind of rally some of these other recruits saying, hey, we're going to Gainesville. This is our class. We're to make things happen. So I love to see what he's done on the social media front. So again, time will tell. And I agree with you. If we can keep 15 out of 19, 16 out of 19, Even if it drops down to 14 out of 90, whatever the number, if we can keep the majority, I still think we will be in good shape. And hopefully Coach Sumrall will be able to rally the troops and retain as much of that talent as possible.
Yeah, and maybe he flips a couple too. There was a rumor about somebody flipping as soon as he signed that was reported to then be false. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Again, I don't know. So we'll see what happens. There's so much stuff with this in the next couple of days. It goes absolutely crazy. Wednesday is the nuttiest day. If you guys follow this, I don't know how much anybody who's listening pays attention to this or not, but Wednesday is just nuts. It's absolutely a crazy day. So we will monitor that. We will bring you an update of that as we always do. We're looking actually at doing it on Thursday. We have so much to cover that we're going to probably break this down into segments. So we think we're actually going to bring you something on Thursday for that. We will bring you something on Thursday for that, just with a review of early National Signing Day. And then we'll have other updates. We'll talk about all that at the end as far as what all, upcoming pods we have. There's going to be a bunch of them because we got a lot of stuff going on. So there you go.
There is.
All
Andy,
right.
I got one more for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
That commitment flip, that was Tulane out to the Gators.
Yes.
Inside offensive lineman Tylan George, 3-star, and apparently that was finalized.
So I read something else where he said that was false.
Interesting. And that was reported by rivals.com.
So I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But again, you're seeing it's reported, but he's not in the class. So
correct.
It's not finalized. So there you go. That's to my point, right?
I love this time of year. Not really.
Yep. So that would, at least with On 3, On 3 Rivals are now the same, right? So it may have gotten reported by them, but again, he hasn't actually flipped. Maybe it's a projected flip, maybe it's a finalized projection, but it's not actually happened as of yet. He hasn't actually flipped his commitment yet. So again, nothing's final till it's signed, and even then it's not final because you can be released, and even then it's not final because you can transfer. Yeah.
So you can have a projection that's finalized, but it not be finalized?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, if it's not, because it's only a projection, it's not an actual flip of commitment.
Well, in other words, as the cool kids say nowadays, 6'7", Ben, 6'7".
Yeah, sure, whatever. All right, moving along. Let's go to Pride of Sunshine. Get us started. Thoughts on culture from Saturday and perhaps beyond here.
Yeah, so a couple things. First is scoring the first 10 points in this game. Scored the first 10 and then 17 unanswered.
Yep.
I thought that was a phenomenal way to start and the middle of the game, trying to finish the game. Of course, FSU scored late, whatever it is, but stacked some great drives on top of each other and built momentum. So that's great. Billy G comments after the game. The first set of comments I'm going to quote is, he said that Ricky Pearsall 3 years ago was about 36 yards short of a 1,000-yard season.
Mm-hmm.
And he never forgot that. So guess what? Jadan Baugh was absolutely going to get the opportunity to go for 1,000 tonight. Period. Love that.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Florida leads the all-time series against FSU 39-28-2. Awesome. Richie Leonard, the fourth. Richie Leonard transferred to Florida State on January 13th, 2024. By the way, January 13th, also my co-host's birthday.
Yes, indeed.
Went 0-2 facing the Gators in consecutive years. You're welcome, Richie. There you go. Hope Mr. Norvell there, mid-major Mike, was worth it. A 4-8 record is equal to our also not so good 4-8 record in 2013 under Coach Boom. Yes, Muschamp. These two records, they're the same, but unfortunately, worst in 44 years.
Yep.
It's nice to see how that's going to be turned around. And B, you already said it. Baugh, 10th player in program history to reach 1,000 yards in a season. Third underclassman joining Smith. I just cannot say enough about the kid. Here and here's the last thing I'll wrap this up with is through this year and where we are now going through the season, we would have thought, guess what? Guess what? Our offensive player, our leader, our so and so forth was going to be DJ Lagway. This was going to be the anchor outside of Jake Slaughter. This was going to be the voice. This was going to be our identity. And throughout the entire season, it was actually number 13, not number 2. Cannot say enough about what this kid brings to a team, what he brings to the culture, just a representation of and the idea of playing for the patch and representing the name on the back. Jadan Baugh turned out to be the biggest pride that we have in this season. Miles Graham, a very close second.
Well said.
But I can't say enough about the kid. And he dove into the culture, and maybe it was part of him as a young buck. But regardless of the fact, he bought in hard. And my hope is that we can keep him. Yeah, he's going to get a bunch of crazy offers, but hopefully he believes that orange and blue looks as good on him as we think it does. And if we can retain him with a host of others, it starts with him, I believe. But either way, that's my pride, B. What do you got?
Yeah, I like it. As usual, I'm going to focus mine around the kind of effort on the field, right? It's what I typically like to try to do. So again, already mentioned it. Loved seeing the team come together for this game, for the seniors, for the rivalry, right? And really go out there and play a heck of a game on both sides of the ball from an effort standpoint, and from an execution standpoint as well. Really, probably the best we've seen them do that all year, on both sides of things, especially since actually I would say it is because considering the injuries that we're now faced with at this point in the season, which just are ridiculous. Yeah, I actually think it's gotten to be worse than it was last year, which is hard to fathom at this point. But it's pretty crazy. It will be a challenge for the new staff coming in here to do better with culture in terms of the locker room, in terms of the on the field camaraderie and effort and play style, right? And things that we've seen. It will be difficult for them to do better in terms of that. Now, in terms of execution, in terms of some discipline things, that can be improved. We know that. But in terms of how this team plays for one another, in terms of their, want to, that we have seen week in and week out, pretty much regardless of circumstance, Kentucky still being the only exception that I just cannot wrap my head around. And again, it's not that it was completely devoid, but it just wasn't the same in that game. I still stand by. But overall, for 4 years, you just haven't seen this team not put up a fight in every single game, no matter what the circumstance was, no matter what they were or weren't playing for. They came out and they tried their butts off. We talked about this at length last year and how good it was. Last year was the best example, but they did have more to play for. That's an amazing thing. And again, I challenge this new staff to do better than what was done in that regard previously. And again, we've given Napier credit for that all along. Hopefully, though, that works to our advantage in keeping some of these guys together and getting them to want to stay and continue to play with new opportunities to succeed in front of them. Theoretically, anyway. We'll see if that's actually what it is. But in theory, that's the goal, of course. So, all right, moving along. Move back, you suck. Very brief for me tonight. ACC officials in this game, and they were quite good, and by my estimation. I did not catch a whole lot of missed anything. Got all the replay reviews correct from my viewpoints that I saw. No serious missed calls, maybe a couple of minor things, but nothing that really jumped off the page to me. The only thing I have is that I did not love the holding call on Ball's late TD. I can't call it his last TD because then he got another TD after that one. Obviously, the one I'm referring to did not count and was called back. it was the correct call, just not sure it really needed to be called. You've talked about, did it affect the play? Maybe. I guess that guy could have possibly got there. Really don't think he could have, but he was held. It is theoretically possible, perhaps it was a hold. No harm, no foul, pun intended, right? Because Jaden ended up scoring anyway. That's all I got. It was really good. I probably one of the best officiated games of the season, quite frankly. Was quite pleased with it. What do you got?
Yeah, so and that's the thing, right? When you look at a play, how egregious was it, and how much of an advantage did it create on the play? Did it help advance the ball? Did it not help advance the ball? And no, I don't mean Jaden. I meant the actual football and how it was possessed. So there's that. So yeah, that for me that was a borderline. That was a ticky tacky, whatever.
Yep.
The only other one that I had, it was on Florida's fourth possession, either fourth or fifth possession. Mizell went out, and I thought there should have been a DPI on that. His route got impinged a little bit, regardless of the fact the ball was not thrown the best, so that's probably why they didn't call it. Just saying. But outside of that, ACC crew represent actually did decent. OB also, this just in breaking news from our analyst,
Yes.
aka my son.
Yes.
Carson Baker has decommitted from Florida.
Really? We got one. Carson Baker. Isn't he Coco?
4-star running back Carson Baker
decommits. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No, he's good. He's out of Plant City.
I thought he was out of South. Yeah.
I think Carson he's out Baker, of Plant City. Oh, that's a bummer.
Carson Baker, his primary reason for decommitting was due to the firing of Billy Napier. Interesting. So anyways, that's according to Rivals /On3. So we'll see if there's any more. I just updated on 3 Florida Gators 2026 recruiting, and we're down to 18 instead of 19. Yep. So there you go.
That one's for real. Yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, he's a good commit. That's unfortunate.
He is.
I also wonder if that means, so one of the guys I wouldn't mind seeing him hold is Jaluk. I don't know if he's going to or not, but he's been a great position coach. Now, I don't know if he'll stay because he was one of Napier's guys, but so he may not want to stay. But yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is. We got a loaded running back room. Hopefully we can keep some of that talent that's in there. Obviously, but that's a tough one. He was a good commit. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Still not the worst one that we could have had, but yeah, well, good update. So there you go. There's one. We'll see how many more there are. Again, you knew it had to happen at some point.
Yes.
It's funny. You were just mentioning the officials and shouting out to them. I have to throw this out there. This is the same thing we talked about before with the ACC having, replay now, broadcast right to their booths on their actual games. Obviously, this was not defined as an ACC game, even though it had ACC officiating. It was an SEC game because it was at Florida, at least from a telecast standpoint, right? But these ACC games now giving you the visibility to the replay process, right? What's going on, what they're doing in Charlotte, right? All that stuff. You wonder, does that make the refs feel more accountable? Does that hold them to perhaps a different standard than what's going on in the SEC? I don't know. If I was being monitored and my inner workings were being broadcast for the public to see, I might consider that in what I was doing or what I was sharing or what I was talking about or broadcasting. I believe it might affect some things about what I did. I think that's worth a thought. I'll leave it right there. I'm so tired of the SEC's BS on that. All right, moving on. Let's wrap it up. Keep it or pitch it here before we get into some discussion on the coaching change and the GM change as well. All right. Keep it or pitch it. 3-0 for both of us. We made the same picks, so I knew you were going to beat me no matter what. But we finish out 3-0. A shout out here. I did get over. Not a shout out to me. It's going to be a shout out to you. I did get over 500. Finished up 19-17. Came all the way back from the depths of despair, which is cool. I'm happy about that. But you finished 21-15. That is the highest mark in terms of correct picks at 21 that we have ever had for Keep It or Pitch It in a season. Congratulations, sir. That is pretty outstanding stuff. I think you went 3-0 at least 3, maybe 4 times this season. You had 3-0. Really good stuff. Really good
Yeah.
stuff. So in a
where do
terrible
I?
season, you have been the shining light with Keep It or Pitch It. Great job.
Yeah, that's wild. Where do I accept my parting gifts? Are they over here at the door? Okay, great.
Yeah, they're somewhere around the corner from the 4-8 record. So
Oh, I don't want them anywhere near Billy. No thanks. Okay.
yeah, for real. All right. So just to recap, we said Florida was ranked 65 in scoring, allowing 24.27 points per game. Florida State was ranked 24th in scoring at this point in time, which is interesting that they fell off that much, averaging 34.1 points per game. Gator defense will allow less than 28 points on Saturday. We both kept it. Of course, we were right. That's going to be a theme here. Florida ranks number 77 in rushing defense at 152.7 per game. Florida State ranks number 11 in rushing offense at 223.4 per game. We said the Gators would hold them to under 190 yards. We did. It was 162 or 167. Going from memory, I don't recall, but either way, it was under 190. We both kept it. We were both right. And lastly,
you got it.
What's that?
167. You got it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Florida State currently ranks 102nd in the nation in total turnover margin for the season at -4 combined. Florida will increase that margin by at least 1 during this game on Saturday with a net loss. So in other words, netting out 1 less turnover than Florida State, which we did barely. Thank you, last second pick by Ben Hanks to seal that one up. We both kept it. And we were both right. So kept everything, right on everything, 3-0 to close out. Nice way to finish out the season along with that beat down. That was good stuff. Quick note on the Sims there, too. They nailed that pick as well with all that stuff. So, again, terrible start to the year with that, but did end up bringing some value. So I guess we will probably continue that next year. I don't know. It took a really long time. It took till after the Miami game for it to start figuring that stuff out and being anywhere close to accurate as the season went on. So I don't know. Jury's out. We'll discuss it. We'll see if we want to keep doing that next year or not. But because those first 4 games, certainly, or first 3 games were way off. Yes. And then Miami, it kind of half picked the game right, but the key stat was wrong. So I don't know. It's a little bonkers this year, but of course this team was a little bonkers this year. So who knows? Maybe that had something to do with it. We'll reconvene and talk about that next season and go from there. All right. Yeah. So let's talk about Sumrall at least briefly here, and Caldwell as well. We will of course do more of this as we get more information about coordinators and things of that nature. So the plan is, we'll break this down. We want to, of course, have a early National Signing Day pod. That will be Thursday. We will then have pods. We don't know timing on all this yet. We will then definitely do a pod with more depth on simply Sumrall, his background, coaching style, things of that nature. We have not decided if we're going to do that separately from coordinators yet. It kind of depends on the hiring timing and what we're going to see on that. We don't know that yet. We also want to make sure that we talk about transfer portal movement, because for those that don't know, new transfer portal rules this year, 5 days after we announced Sumrall, i.e. yesterday, so now we're talking Friday, there is a 15-day portal window that opens up for only Florida. Well, it's not only Florida because there were like 4 coaching hires that day, but yes. For any team that announced the coaching hire that day, there is a 15-day window of portal that opens up there where players can transfer. So because of that, until December 20th, so from Friday until December 20th, our players that are currently on the team that are eligible to do so can transfer. So we want to make sure we keep apprised of that, talk about who we do lose. I'm sure we will lose some, but talk about who ends up going and have a discussion around that. That may not be its own pod. We may throw that in with some of the other stuff with Sumrall and or coordinators. And then, of course, we also want to talk about any other hires. I don't know. We'll have to go into a ton more detail around Caldwell because we will discuss that a little bit here. But ultimately, like I said, we have a lot more pods coming. We still want to do our season recap for you. Yep. A lot of stuff going on. So we are going to get this all planned out. The only one we know for sure right now is that on Thursday night, we will bring you an early National Signing Day recap. And it is important to keep in mind that, getting decommits right now is not a terrible thing. It is something that is not atypical. I do find it really weird that Carson Baker's saying that he decommitted because he was for Billy Napier. Billy Napier got fired a month and a half ago. So why you decommit now? That doesn't make any sense. Reasoning. Yeah, that's not the reason. Somebody just gave you a nice bag. But we'll move on, Carson. That's cool. Just you can tell the truth, buddy. It's okay. All right, so let's talk about Jon Sumrall. I'll get us started on him, then you can run down your thoughts and give us your thoughts on Caldwell from there. Sound good?
Copy that.
All right. So first things first. For all of you that are saying this is Napier 2.0, I totally get it. A lot of similarities, right? From Louisiana. Well, maybe not. He's not from Louisiana originally, but it's a coach we hired out of Louisiana, right? Group of 6 coach. A lot of similarities with Napier in the background, in the record, and a lot of stats, right? Against top 25 teams. Actually coached in the Sun Belt for 2 years, right? 2 years, started winning the Sun Belt right after Napier left the Sun Belt when he was winning. I get it. I get the comparisons, right? But I do think we should also mention, we felt Napier was a good hire. So if we felt wrong, right? But it looked at the time like a good hire. So that doesn't mean that Sumrall is a bad hire just because Napier looked like a good one and wasn't. Doesn't mean that if Sumrall looks like a good hire, he's not. Okay, that's an important distinction to make in this, and that's the point that I'm trying to make here. I'm not trying to, spray sunshine here. There's a chance he's not also. The problem with this whole thing is nobody ever knows. Nobody ever knows. Made this point earlier, right? The perfect hire at the perfect school with the perfect fit can be absolutely wrong. You just don't know. One important thing to consider in this, though, is that Sumrall is not inheriting the same train wreck of a program that Billy did. And this is not making excuses for Billy, let me be clear. But there is a lot more talent, at least right now. We'll see what happens after December 20th. But there's a lot more talent and a way better culture, as we have just discussed, in this locker room than there was 4 years ago. And that matters. Do not kid yourself. That matters. There is also a lot better understanding of NIL, the portal, the timing, the classes, everything. And this is a guy who is all for that, by all accounts anyway, is willing to work with that, is willing to accept that this is the world that we're living in. He is not fighting that. He is not trying to work against it. This is not Dabo Swinney, okay? That's, I guess, the point that I'm trying to make. This is not a guy who's trying to continue to be only a program builder, build only through recruiting. That's not him. He's also not necessarily a Mike Norvell who only wants to mercenary his team out every year. I'm not saying that either. But I think he's a guy who accepts that this is the rules of the system. This is where we are. This is how we're playing now. And he's fine with it. And I think that's a good balance to want to have, at least from what I've seen and read. Now, it's all talk for now, but the numbers would reflect that in what we've seen from the recruiting and the transfer portal classes and everything else that he's gotten from Tulane. You can't compare that because of the talent level of school, but it would bear out that makes sense. 64th and 70th recruiting classes, and his last transfer portal class, I believe, ranked 49th. That tracks for a group of 5 AAC school. It's about where it should be, if you will. The other thing that we can see immediately from Sumrall in the opening press conference is that he and Billy are very different people. He comes out trolling Lane Kiffin to start the presser. Love it. Absolutely love it. I might have stole your thunder on that one, but I absolutely loved it. But beyond that, he talks about his family in depth, and he talks about how his family, not just him, will buy into not only the community, but Gators sports as a whole. Talks about talking to Todd Golden, at length.
Yes.
Inviting all the players to come back openly, something Billy really never did, by the way, which was kind of a knock on him for quite a while, by the way. And saying that the only way he knows how to do things is all in.
Yes, sir.
Quite possibly my favorite quote of that presser. I also really appreciated that he flat out said championships are the standard. And not just that he knows this, but it is why he wanted to come here and that he was built for this job. These are direct quotes. And lastly, that he will win here. Now, talk is talk. I understand that. None of that means a thing until you put it on the field and do something about it. but sometimes talk does matter, at least to a degree. And it is refreshing to hear someone come out and just flat say what they mean and commit to what they're going to do, or at least attempt to do that. And that is something that you can then hold them accountable to. That is something Billy never did. Ever. It was all coach speak all the time, right? 24/7. We talked about this. And I talked about not necessarily really caring about that, but I will tell you, this was a breath of fresh air to hear. It really did make me feel like, wow, this is kind of nice. And instead of having to always try to read between the lines, you got to go, oh, okay, he said that. Cool. Like, I know what he said. I don't have to dissect it and try to break it down and figure out what's really going on. No, he just said it. At the end of the day, you have to live up to all that, right? You're going to make these commitments. You got to live up to them. That is what it is. But you also have to start somewhere. And right now you can't start on the football field. That's not an option. At least not for us. He can with Tulane still. But with Florida, you can't. And I don't hate this start. I really don't. Those are my opening thoughts on him. What do you got for John Boy?
Yeah, absolutely. His tone.
Yep.
During his press conference. I appreciate his tone. I appreciate his demeanor.
Yep.
All right. I hear him talk. He talks like a football player.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. Coming out of Texarkana, Texas. Okay. In 1982, 43 years young. I loved how he sounded, how he started talking about his family to begin with. I agree there. I love the fact that he said, hey, had a great conversation with Lane Kiffin, and he and I both agree I'm the man for the job.
Yeah, that's terrific. Absolutely. He Lane trolled Lane. It was phenomenal. It
was great. And I love the comments he made about his in-laws, his parents, his wife, his kids, 4 kids at 43. They're juggling a lot. Clearly there's a good balance there, whatever balance means to people, but they clearly got it figured out. They're able to thrive as a family as well. I love the fact that Meyer and Spurrier were there for that press conference. And I love the fact of how grateful he was for that.
Agreed.
So again, we'll dive into more of this later on in another episode, but I just want to mention this. Jon Sumrall played linebacker at Kentucky. Led the team in tackles sophomore season. Jon Sumrall had to medically retire from playing football because of something called spinal stenosis, a narrowing of the spinal canal. And in other words, if he got a really bad hit, that could leave him paralyzed.
Right.
He hated doing it. He tried to tone his body, he tried to condition a different way, hated doing it, had to medically retire, picked up a clipboard 2 weeks later and said, this is where I need to let that competitive spirit out at. And that's what I meant by his tone. Okay. Great quotes, coach speak, great podium presence, great presence in general. I loved also the fact that he gave respect to the former Gators, current Gators, the program, but also the opportunity to go and finish what he started at Tulane with his guys. He takes a lot of pride, clearly, in what he does with the program. Culture should not be an issue because guess what? There's a foundation here. Compared to 4 years ago, there was no foundation. It was sinking sand, essentially. So enjoy that fact. Great call out there, B. That was one of the things in my notes that I wanted to figure, because at the end of the day, yeah, it's a 6-year deal, $7.5 million a year, but we're going to know within 2 years what this guy's made of, regardless of Sun Belt, American Conference, American John, whatever you want to call him. We're going to know within a couple of years. We're going to know if the intensity is real. We're going to know if the intents are genuine, and they seem genuine for right now. So, breath of fresh air, I agree with. Is it not the ideal hire? Probably not. Are a lot of people still frustrated? Probably so. But at the end of the day, folks, keep in mind, this is probably 2 seasons ago. Look at our history of Florida Football Pod. Florida football started in 1905, 1906, 1905. Our years of relevance 65 to 67, 89 to 01, 05 to 11.
Well, and we have to throw in 75 as of something I learned recently, because we are one of only 2 teams ever now, with Ohio State just doing it. We were the only team ever to hold every opponent to 17 points or less. Not an average of, but actually hold every opponent to 17 points or less in modern college football anyway. I don't know what modern is considered. I don't know if it's the AP poll. I don't know if it's, I guess it's since you played 12 games. Since you played when you play 12 games, I don't know if that's including a bowl game or what, but yeah, we are the only other team besides now Ohio State to do it. In a 12 game season, quote unquote. Obviously, Ohio State's going to play more than 12 games, but in a 12 game season, we're the 1975 Gators and now the 2025 Ohio State Buckeyes are the only 2 teams to do it. Read an article that said that on Saturday. So can't quote the article where it was from right now. Should be able to do that. Apologies, I don't have that, but that was not a planned stat, so I apologize.
It's okay. A stat nonetheless. I saw the same read, and I thought that was really fascinating from a team way back when. But either way, folks.
But yes, your point is taken. Sorry.
Yeah, the program, as far as the rich history of Florida football over the course of over a century, this is not Alabama. This is not. I mean, even the older schools that have enjoyed, your Notre Dames and all your different schools like that have enjoyed OSU multiple national championships. Let's face it. Our facilities have been upgraded. There's been a renewed commitment on the NIL front.
Well, in theory.
But folks, listen, this is not college football. I know it's college football, but it's not. Players are getting paid. This is semi-pro football here, okay? Minus the arena. It's semi-pro football.
Which is why we hire a GM now.
And bingo. Perfect. That's the segue, B.
There you go.
The segue into Caldwell. So feel free and let's talk about Dave Caldwell now.
Now, get us started. Go for it.
Yeah, so Dave Caldwell named general manager of the Gators today. What in Sam Hill does that mean? He's going to oversee roster management, contract management, recruiting, personnel, operations. He's going to work obviously very closely with Jon Sumrall to support the recruiting, roster retention efforts, Yeah. Long-term strategic planning. So that's going to be important. Caldwell does come from the National Football League. Some call it still the No Fun League, but it is what it is. Bringing more than 2 decades of high-level professional football experience to the Swamp. He served as a GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know the Jaguars have been nothing to talk about over the years, but from 2013 to 2020, and recently worked in player personnel for the Philadelphia Eagles, contributing to 2 Super Bowl appearances, of course, and they won the Super Bowl last year. Prior to that, he was a consultant for the Ravens organization. And so throughout his time in Jacksonville, he selected more players in the NFL draft that earned Pro Bowl honors than any other GM in franchise history. So there's that.
I mean, I don't know that that's a huge deal in Jacksonville, but all right, we'll take it.
Well, hey, I'm not drawing at straws. I'm trying to draw something, okay? Outside of that, I think, what's interesting is he's allegedly respected as a personnel evaluator and a team builder in the NFL setting. He's got a lot of experience. He's been on a lot of squads. And the main thing is, especially from his time with the Eagles, understanding roster construction. Roster construction, management, and retention is key, especially when you look at college football in its modern day, involving more of money and more around the players, more about what they need, where they want to go, what they want to do, what bag they're after. And hopefully those personalities that he's managed for 20 plus years will help translate to these players that we have to manage on a daily basis here. So outside of that, he spent some time with the Falcons, spent some time with the Colts, under Bill Polian, who was a renowned GM in the NFL for years. Bill Polian passed earlier this year, I believe, or late last year. But either way, Caldwell looks to have a lot of the tools to help this program take the next step when it comes to that middle management position and roster retention and everything else that we need to have happen in this NIL era. What do you got, B?
Yeah, so really good rundown there. I'm not going to go through all the specifics on him. There's three key things I want to say. Number one, 2017 AFC Championship game. Who played in it? Jacksonville Jaguars and the New England Patriots. And I remember that. He was the GM for that game. He only came there in 2013.
That was Bortles.
That team was in shambles. That was Bortles. That was right. That was when Bortles was not terrible. And then after that, he went straight down the crapper. And Bortles was considered to be a consensus excellent pick when the Jaguars picked him. Looked like an excellent pick. Went to the championship game and then right down the toilet. Nobody saw that coming. That was a total fake out for everybody. Not only was he a consensus top 10 pick, but he looked like a consensus top 10 pick until he then didn't. Right? So he fooled everybody. He would have fooled any GM. That's not on Caldwell. I'm not defending Caldwell overall. I'm not saying that I think he's the greatest GM ever or anything like that. But that pick first elevated him and his team subsequently, not solely, obviously. There's other good pieces to make to the championship game, to the AFC Championship game in a 24-20 loss to the Patriots, by the way. Very close game. Those teams were excellent on defense back then. But then subsequently the fall from grace until he's fired in 2020. So that probably gets forgotten and overlooked in all of this, right? In that terrible record that they had, but they had one really good season in there until it all fell apart. So I think that's worth mentioning. Number one, that's point number one. Point number two, Howie Rosen, the GM of the Eagles. When Caldwell is first hired as an assistant to the GM, that's his first year gig with the Eagles. He's immediately promoted to a senior advisor to the GM and works directly with Howie Rosen, who, by the way, is a Gator. And don't think he didn't have some involvement in recommending him for this job. Guarantee you he did.
Oh, sure.
Because he sees potential in him and wants his input, and absolutely has been all more or less quoted. I don't have exact quotes, but has been on record as saying that he was involved in the organization and team structure of both Super Bowl runs for the Eagles here recently, as in Caldwell. Had very good things to say about him on record. So I think it's possible that the Jaguars' overall record here may not be quite as indicative of his abilities as it could be, right? The NFL is a tricky business. It's hard for anybody. So I think that's worth putting out there in my first 2 points. My third point is this. I was really worried when we announced that we were going to hire Sumrall and let him keep coaching. As I mentioned, I think it's a classy move, but I also have concerns. Early National Signing Day is Wednesday. The transfer portal opening up for our players because we announced a coach is Friday, right? I'm concerned about what? Player retention, recruiting, right? These things that matter. It didn't occur to me at first that we also hired a GM who can absolutely help with and potentially do a lot of this stuff, and he is not coaching Tulane. So I think this hire was very strategic, very smart to bring them in at essentially the same time. Credit to the administration on this, despite all the negative and everything else. They get a bingo chip here, for lacking the expression that I want.
Yippee.
Yeah, but they get one for this because I think this could really make a difference in helping us retain players, get players, right? Things that we need to do before Sumrall is available to come in here and take on the job full time. I think it could really be a difference maker in the fact that he is not going to be here full time in these next couple of weeks. Certainly not this next week, and perhaps longer than that if they do end up going to the playoff.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. We will see what happens. We will see how it goes. We will evaluate that based on how on what happens and how it does go, and we will go from there. So those are my final thoughts on this. I think those are the important points to make. Anything else you want to say here before we close this thing off and wrap it up?
I feel like the way the past 4 years have gone, there is cardinal knowledge, there is an example, there's a foundation, and there's a what not to do list.
Well said.
So one of the things that I forgot to mention in my thing with Sumrall is he did mention one of his highest priorities is finding an outstanding offensive coordinator
Yes, sir.
with an explosive offense.
Yep.
So again, folks, Billy
And
Napier
and to mention just one step further, and stated that is mandatory.
mandatory. Correct.
Mandatory. Yeah. I mean, that is an important word in that quote. Mandatory.
Yeah, because we thought it was mandatory last year after Texas, but either way,
well, the fact that he's saying it's mandatory, though, that's not coming from Strickland. That's not coming from Andy. Oh my God,
sure. Staples.
Thank you. That's being reported that Strickland had. No. This guy said it in a quote directly from his perspective. He knows that at Florida, it's a requirement. Period. End of discussion. Now, maybe that's PR spin. Maybe that's this. Maybe that's that. But he said it on the record. So now what do you got to do? You got to do something about it.
To hold them accountable. Exactly. And that's
exactly
why we'll
right.
know.
That's the thing that I'm liking so far about. That's the thing that I'm liking so far about him. He said a lot of stuff already that you can flat out hold him accountable to. Because if he doesn't do it, now what? You know, this isn't, again, it's not coach speak. It's not a bunch of wishy-wash. This is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Go grade me on it. Here we go.
Right.
Cool. Sounds good. Let's do it.
So that, and the fact that, obviously we've heard the Napier 2.0. Again, there's a lot of cardinal knowledge here. And clearly he doesn't seem like the type of guy who's going to fall on his own sword and make excuses or do the coach speak thing. But again, time will tell, but it's not going to take 4 years, folks. It's not going to take 2 years. We'll know.
Yep. You know, pretty quickly, I think.
Yep.
And we can learn a lot here in this next month, right? The recruiting class is trickier. That one, you can have a lot of stuff, the kids and everything else. They haven't been exposed to all this. I think your current players are going to tell you a lot. Who we keep, who we don't, right? I think that's going to teach you a lot here. That for me is going to be my first real evaluator. Your transition class is tough, right? It was tough for Billy. It's tough for anybody. So that one you get a little pass on for me for sure. Not that I want it to crumble, but certainly I think, depending on what happens there and some of the retention, it's understandable. I think ultimately though, this window that opens up, that's going to be a real key in who you're able to keep and what we see there. And that's going to dictate a lot of things here moving forward. And then the second one will be the actual full portal, right? The actual winter portal, the only portal window that opens up on January 2nd, and what acquisitions we're able to make from there. So
stay tuned, folks. Looks like it's gonna be some good TV coming up. Get your popcorn.
Got a lot going on. A lot going on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So to that point, as we talked about, next pod will be in just a couple of days here, Thursday night, to wrap up the early. I mean, technically the signing period ends on Friday, but everybody signs by usually Wednesday. Sometimes it goes into Thursday, but for the most part, it's a done deal by Wednesday. So we will have that recap, kind of run down who we did, who we didn't sign, any flips to or from, and break down the class as we've always done before. Talk through that and any other, pressing developments that may have occurred, if there are any. But with that, wrap us up, sign us off, man.
Delio, enjoyed this pod, enjoyed celebrating a win. Gator Nation, thank you all for listening. So whenever you are, whenever you may be listening, thank you for taking the time, and we will see you around, Gator Nation.